This is absolute perfect timing because I was about to film a video that I'm filming right now based on a phone call I just received from a defendant. And then I received someone on our mailing list that you could join at White Collar Advice. We just launched a new podcast, the White Collar Advice podcast, with a lot of new content. And I asked the people on our mailing list, are there things you'd like us to cover? And a person just responded, "Hi, Justin. What are some things that someone can do to get their sentence lowered?" Well, that really ties into a phone call I just received, and it was really an absurd phone call, like absurd. It's so absurd that I have to film it now and interrupting my run. Forgive me for looking like a bum. I'm going to run after this. So this person called to tell me that he had watched the video with Judge Bennett. Tens of thousands of people have watched these videos with Judge Bennett and Michael Santos, federal judge. And he essentially said, "Hey man, like this video was freaking fantastic. I even watched it with my lawyer. Like this is really incredible stuff. How did you get a lawyer? How did you get a judge to talk to dudes out of jail? And this how did that happen?" I'm like, "Well, let's move past how it happened and get to the purpose of the call. I'm so happy you watched this video with Judge Bennett. How can we help?" And he was essentially like, "Well, great video, but it's not applicable to me." Like, are you a federal defendant? Yes. Did you plead guilty to a white collar crime? Yes. Are you facing a sentencing hearing? Yes. Do you have a probation interview upcoming? Yes. Was there a Department of Justice press release? Yes. Did you retain a lawyer? Yes. Did your bank fire you? Yes. Is there other fallout from your collateral from your conviction? Yes. Is your wife embarrassed? Yes. Do you have children? Yes. Are they hurt? Yes. Have you lost friends? Yes. Are you concerned about what you'll do on the other side of prison? Yes. Are you worried about prison? Yes. Are you worried about getting out of prison early? Yes. So you've answered yes to all of these things, yet none of it is applicable to you. May I speak directly? He said yes. And I said, "I want you to know, bud, I've been home from jail for 14 years. To think that you are immune or the video advice that Judge Bennett gave us is not applicable to you is so utterly absurd that I want to, it's ridiculous." So when defendants think they're special or certain things are not applicable to them, we have a problem. Because I learned on this call, and it's going to come down to this person's question, what can you do to get a shorter sentence? When defendants think they're special or things aren't applicable to them, we have to dive deeper and find out why. So I asked him, "Why are you special?" Because he essentially said, I have a special case. It's different for me. Despite everything else that he's facing, that everyone else goes through, why are you different? Why are you special? Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you why. I've made the U.S. Attorney's career. I've made these FBI agents, they freaking love me, man. Like, we spend time together, we're buddies. Like, you have no idea what I've done for these FBI agents. You have no idea, like, this U.S. attorney's whole career is because of me. And I'll say, "Well, tell me what you mean." He went to law school. He's had a number of cases. Like, his whole career is made because of you. Tell me why. Well, at least nine people have been indicted only because of my cooperation. Like, I did the most extensive cooperation you've ever seen. I was undercover. I'm wearing wires. I'm wired up at meetings. Like, I'm doing stuff it's right out of the movies. Like, I did right out of movie stuff. And I'm just sitting back listening to this phone call. And he said, because of my extensive cooperation to the point where, like, I don't think this U.S. attorney has ever seen anything like this. I know the FBI agents haven't because they've told me. Like, they tell me, like, the extent of my I should be on the payroll with the FBI. That should be my job. I'm not working. I don't need to work, thankfully. There's nothing I need to do to work right now. I'm grateful to have some resources. I don't need to work. But I should be getting paid from the FBI as much as I have worked. So because of that cooperation, my attorneys have assured me that I'm not going to go to prison. May I ask how much the losses are in this case? Well, a few $1 million, some market manipulation type stuff. No big deal. Are there victims? Yeah, but they're victims, I suppose. But they're all big investors and big boys and knew what they were doing. And okay, so what are the guidelines? Well, the guidelines are because of the losses. They're like over 10 years. He told me, but I've cooperated. 9 people are going to go to prison because of me. And because of that cooperation, what I'm doing to make the U.S. attorney's career, like I'm good. So let me understand this. You watched the video with Judge Bennett. Why did you watch it? What was the point of watching it? I know, I was kind of curious. I want to hear what a federal judge had to say. So you heard what Judge Bennett had to say about how to get a lower federal prison sentence that you're telling me right now, other than cooperation, there's nothing you really need to do. And he kind of came back at me like, dude, like, did you hear what I just told you? Did you hear that I'm making the career of a U.S. attorney? The FBI loves me. This U.S. attorney is going to catch 9 cases because of me. I always love when people go to the prison vernacular or parlance. Catch cases because of me. All right, so let me ask you some additional questions. Do you think there would be value in having the judge know more about you in your own words despite your cooperation? Silence. Nothing. What about your probation report? Do you understand how the probation report will impact not just your sentence, but your life in federal prison? Do you think there's value in taking the time to prepare for that? My lawyer said it's a 15-minute interview. Show up, answer a few questions, go on with my day. Okay. Character reference letters. How many do you have? Oh, I have like some of those, you wouldn't believe, he told me, the people who are writing letters. And I have CEOs, a couple of celebrities. Won't mention the celebrities. It's not my style to name drop, but some big people. Okay. Did you hear the video with Judge Bennett that he could, you called after watching the video, and he can sort of hear my disdain. You're telling me celebrities are writing letters. Do they attest to your character? Are they close friends of yours? Did you know that Judge Bennett in this video said that he doesn't care who writes them? Plumber, electrician, gardener, as long as they speak to your character? Do they speak to your character? Silence. You're trying to impress a federal judge with celebrities? They don't care, bud. Let me tell you what they care about. Coming back to the question from someone on our mailing list, what are some things someone can do to get their sentence lowered? What are some things? He knew, this person calling knew, because he watched the video with Judge Bennett. He's watched our other videos. So I'm going to make it really, really clear. These are things you do to get your sentence shortened. Cooperation, which this defendant has clearly done successfully, will help him a huge deal. I have no doubt this U.S. attorney at a sentencing hearing will speak glowingly and gush over how extensive his cooperation was, which is a part of making amends, according to the government. Some say it's snitching or ratting. The government's perspective is it's part of making amends and bringing other people to justice. So there is no doubt this cooperation that comes with a great deal of stress and heartache. I mean, it's stressful from what I've heard. I didn't do it. It's stressful from what I've heard to go undercover and wear wires. I mean, it's not easy. So a lot of this stuff is out of a movie. So there is no doubt cooperation is one of the best nuggets to get a shorter. So it's like the Willy Wonka chocolate ticket to getting a shorter prison sentence. There is no freaking doubt. A second way to this person's question to get a shorter federal prison sentence. If there are losses, pay back money proportionate to what you have and what you can do. You know, if you owe $7 million and you're worth $10 million and you pay back $25,000, it doesn't look great. So you should make payments relative to what you have. Believe it or not, we have known people who had like $2.5 million in restitution, made an $8,000 restitution payment, which relative to the loss is nothing, but relative to what the person had was a really big number. And some judges have appreciated that. So paying back money can help. Of course, it doesn't always make sense to pay back money if you need it, or it may not actually shorten your prison sentence. That's why YouTube at times can be, this is general advice. Your case is specific and unique to you, but to the question, and what this person who called is not doing, other than he's cooperating. That's all he's doing. So you can cooperate, you can pay back the money, you can really accept responsibility. Right? You can really demonstrate through your own efforts by way of the personal narrative. Character reference letters help, but again, it's people writing about you. That work really needs to come from you. A way to shorten your federal prison sentence is by working, building a new record as a law-abiding citizen, contributing and paying taxes, showing that you no longer break the law. Community service helps, though it's certainly not as important as working, cooperation, or paying back the money. But community service and giving back and documenting that can be helpful. Something that can lead to a shorter federal prison sentence is really laying out a plan for the rest of your life. And what does that plan look like? If you can't return to your career, well, what is the path? What are you doing to build a new record? Well, I've attended sentencing hearings where a defendant says, Your Honor, I want to open a substance rehab center and I want to help people, deal with their substance abuse issues and this and that. And the judge will say, that's a noble record, but you're not clean. You're not in a position to do that. You haven't helped yourself. So don't give me this happy talk about what you plan to do. You have done nothing to make it happen. You haven't started it, but also you're not in a position to do that. Give me something that's realistic. So you want to give something to a federal judge to get a shorter federal prison sentence that's realistic and measurable and believable, that's commensurate with your skill set. Of course, to get a shorter federal prison sentence, you should, in our humble opinion, identify with the victims as best as you possibly can and really recognize, if you've created victims, your path and plan to make them whole or repay the money in time. Too many defendants in the end get longer federal prison terms because they fixate on themselves, how their own life is imploding, or they think because they cooperated and have this Willy Wonka golden ticket, it's going to keep them out of prison. But I've been to sentencing hearing when the judge is like, yes, you cooperated, but it was simply to keep yourself out of jail. I don't have that level of remorse and shame that I think is commensurate with the crime. And in many cases, defendants who have done nothing but cooperate had fully expected to get a sentence of probation or home confinement and still get time in prison because the judge says, I can't forgive or walk away from what you've done. So I was very frustrated when I received this phone call from a defendant because you have a judge telling him, and he's getting enabled by people, his family, his lawyers enabling him. No need to do that. You're different. You cooperate. No need to write the letter. No need to work because you're in a position where you have resources. Yeah, there are victims here, but you're helping them, catch other cases. That's fine. The victims are kind of like they're on the periphery. They're kind of thrown out there as a throwaway, but they're not really the focus. So it's frustrating to hear this because this guy's actually has like a one-way ticket to potentially stay out of prison. But you can't just be reliant on the cooperation. He is absolutely not doing enough. And it's just frustrating to watch the video and not do anything. It's like equivalent to someone who buys a fitness, class or something and says, yeah, that's great. I need to do that. But you're just sitting on the couch eating donuts while everyone else is exercising. That's kind of what he's doing here. This is great. Everyone needs to do that, but I don't need to. It was a waste of time to watch the video if he's not going to implement it. Very frustrating. And I encouraged him to do better, though I sense from our call, because he thinks he's special and unique, and in his words, has made the career of these FBI agents and U.S. attorney, the things that Judge Bennett spoke about in that video are not applicable to him. And I think that's sad and frustrating, and I feel for his victims, who will be harder for him to repay because of his actions. I think he gets a longer federal prison term, which delays him returning to work and making money and paying money back. I empathize with his wife and children, who through no fault of their own will continue to suffer. And I'm sad that he's unable to see through it, and the consequences will continue to follow. And this is white-collar crime. Unfortunately, we are not different. Unfortunately, we are not special. We may be special to our family and to people who love and support us. We are people in the government's eyes who created victims, who put ourselves, our own interest at the expense of others, and they want significant consequences to accompany our conduct. We are not special, and if we can recognize that we are not special and we are in the cog of the criminal justice system where we are not going to be treated differently, we can then get creative and begin to mitigate and do things that require work, like not just watching the fitness tape, actually doing the exercise. And if you can learn from this defendant's mistakes, this 10 or 12 or 15-minute video before I go for my exercise will be worthwhile. Thank you very much for watching. And while you're here, go to, on the White Collar Advice site, we have a new tab for a podcast. That content's going to be different from YouTube. We encourage you to subscribe and follow along. Have a wonderful and safe Memorial Day. Goodbye.